Hello, everybody. Chris Samardage, Brotherhood of Light Show, current YouTube channel. And today we're going to do a follow-up on our last psychedelic album show, which was Jerry Garcia's 3 albums that he played lead guitar on. And I had a lot of comments in the comment section mentioning all these different records which Jerry Garcia sat in on. So I decided to take it at task and do a show that basically covers every album Jerry Garcia played on, sat in on. They're not Grateful Dead albums, and the release year of each album. And I am doing a remote broadcast or a recording from State Line, Nevada. So I don't have my usual setup, but I think I got it rolling. So let's get it rolling here. Here we go. We're going to do screen share. So screen share, here we go. Share, okay. And we're going to do laser pointer. Laser pointer. There it is, laser pointer. Okay, so here we are. So this is the show. Let's just do the laser pointer. All right, so the 58 albums Jerry Garcia sat in on that are not Grateful Dead albums. Okay, 58, pretty amazing. That's what I came up with. There may be more, so let's get on with it. There's Jerry right there, and he's no longer with us, but he's in spirit. And so we're going to start in 1967. Here we go. So we've got the summer of 1967, and up here on the left-hand side, we've got the Jefferson Starship playing in Golden Gate Park, and then we've got the Grateful Dead playing on a flatbed truck at the Panhandle. And so all these bands, they were all up at 710. They walked down to the Panhandle to take this picture, and Jim Marshall took these pictures that we've seen here. And here is a quick silver messenger service. We've got the Grateful Dead, it's kind of in the middle here to the side. We've got Big Brother and the Holding Company, and you've got Janis Joplin right here. Behind Jack Cassidy, you got Jefferson Airplane, and then the Charlatans. So the album that he first sat in on was Surrealistic Pillow, which is up here, was a big hit. And I think they were in the studio recording their first record, and he went over and sat in with the Airplane, and that was a great record, and it's probably one of the classics of that time period. So there you go. Second album, Airplane album he sat in on is called Volunteers, and that's 1969. So we have 67 and 69. Then the Grateful Dead and Jerry Garcia played or contributed music to the movie called Zabriskie Point, to the soundtrack, and that was released in 1970. And that is a film that a European director created, and he filmed a bunch of it in Death Valley, which is the scene here. And there's a lot of nudity and kind of free-form filmmaking involved in this movie. Check it out. You get an opportunity to see it. Very interesting film. Next. Okay, so we're going to go with the Starship family. And we got Blows Against the Empire, 1970. We got 1971 Sunfighter, which is considered a Gray Slick album. And then we've got 1971 Papa John Creech, plays guitar on. And then, of course, the Chrome Nun, 1973. And then we've got in the middle here in the 1973, Paul Kantner's Earth Rock and Roll Orchestra, which came out in 1973. And then final, we've got Gray Slick's Manhole, 1974. And he played on all these records now. These records, he played guitar, pedal steel, banjo, whatever. I'm just saying in general, these are records he played on. Okay, so now So we've got Howard Wells' Hooterall, which is a 1971 album right here. Here he is with Howard Wells. Howard Wells was the musical director for The Matrix, played keyboard there. And here's Jefferson Airplane playing in the Matrix Club and down on Fillmore Street. And then we've got the band Lamb, which was a Bill Graham produced band, kind of a Bette Midler vocalist, and I believe he played banjo on that. And then we have the It's a Beautiful Day, Marrying Madeline, 1970, after their big hit with the White Bird album. Okay, next, we've got New Riders, the Purple Sage, self-titled New Riders, the Purple Sage, and he primarily plays pedal steel guitar on this record. And it is, there he is playing, and there's the album cover, 1971. And then he contributes to Power Glide, which is their second New Riders Purple Sage album, came out in 1972. And I believe they had another pedal steel player, and but Jerry plays on some tracks on that. And it was just enough to assemble this thing, let alone talk about each song or each track he played on. So next, we're going to go to 1972, and he releases the self-titled Jerry Garcia album, and then Bob Weir produces Ace, 1972, and then we got Rolling Thunder by Mickey Hart in 1972 up there, and then we got Diga Rhythm Section, the album Diga, which is a Mickey Hart, 1976. And we also have Keith and Donna Groucho, 1975, right here. So these are all people that were in the Grateful Dead and put albums out together. Now we're going to take a little departure from that, and we're going to the Crosby, Stills, Nash family. So we got Crosby, Stills, Nash and Young, Deja Vu, 1970. Jerry plays on that. And then we've got, let's see, what's the next one? Graham Nash, Songs for the Beginner, and that's 1971. And then we have Stephen Stills 2, 1971. He definitely plays on that record. And then on Manassas, 1972, he plays on that, and it's just called Manassas. And he's not really mentioned as playing on the record, but there is mention of him in the notes. And so he does play on something, but that's that one. And then, of course, we've got from the other series I did, 1971, David Crosby, If I Can Only Remember My Name, which is a great record, which I did on the last. So that's the Crosby, Stills, Nash connection. So next, we're going to go to Merle Saunders, live at the Keystone, 1972. So this is kind of the beginning of the Jerry Garcia solo stuff. And we've got Old in the Way, which is with David Grisman. And it's he's playing banjo on this record, which is portrayed on the cover here. And then the other record we have, which is never really an album until recently released. I'm trying to only do records that were out when he was alive, but Legion of Mary is really important. Martin Fierro was a sax player, and John Kahn plays bass. It's kind of the early days of Jerry Garcia, and this is available to buy now in the double. There's 1 and 2 sets that you can buy, but Legion of Mary was kind of one of his first Jerry Garcia solo acts. And then we've got Robert Hunter, Tiger Rose, 1975, plays guitar on that. Okay, so that kind of covers that. Now Jerry's becoming a star. He's on the cover of Rolling Stone, obviously. Next, we've got another group. We've got Tom Fogerty from Creedence Clearwater Revival, and the album is called Excalibur, 1972. Here it is. And then we've got Link Ray, 1972, and Link Ray. It's called What Do You Want? Be What You Want To. Be What You Want To. Link Ray. And Link Ray is kind of like a dark surf guitar player. He's known for the song Rumble, if you've ever heard that song. And then we've got, let's see, there's Country Joe. Country Joe, Superstitious Blues, which came out in 91, but he's an East Bay guy, he's kind of my East Bay. And then we've got Bill Cutler, Crossing the Line, and he has a bunch of musicians that play, and his brother was a sound man for a while for the Grateful Dead, but Bill is a music producer and lives in San Francisco and still produces a lot of bands out of there. Great guy. Next, we're going to go to the New York connection, and we've got David Bromberg, and David Bromberg is Wanted, Dead or Alive, 1974. And also Art Garfunkel was Angel Claire. Okay, it's his record. I don't know what Jerry does on that. It's one of them. And then we've got Ornette Coleman, 1988, and he's a sax player out of New York, lives in New York. So these are kind of the East Coast guys he played with. Now, next, we're going to have a sleeper right here. And this one is called Hell's Angels Forever, the movie. And it's the soundtrack for Hell's Angels Forever. Now, Jerry plays live on the movie on a ship in New York City. And he also, and he does a couple songs that are on the record, and he also does an interview in the movie. But here's the record, and it is a cassette. It's not, I don't think it was on vinyl. I don't think it was on CD, but Geraldine Brandelius sold me or gave it to me, this 1974 release, Hell's Angels Forever soundtrack on cassette. I had the actual cassette. So that's a sleeper. Nobody knows about that one. Okay, here we go, the next one. So these are the 5 Jerry Garcia solo albums. And we got the self-titled Jerry Garcia. We got Cats Under the Stars, 1978. And Run for the Roses, 1982. And then the first Garcia solo album. And then 1976, Reflections, Jerry Garcia. So those are his 5 albums that came out in the 70s. So as you can see, this guy has done like, contributed like 40 records by the end of 1970 or 30 some. Okay, so next we're going to hit a little bit later in his career. So this first one on the right here is Pete Sears, and it's called Watchfire. Okay, Pete Sears is the bass player for the Jefferson Starship. So, he's a Bay Area guy, and he plays in a band called Moon Alice now. And then we have the Neville Brothers, 1978, Uptown, and they're in Uptown, New Orleans. That's a center record right here. And then we have Mickey Hart's 1990, At the Edge. And I believe that's the cover of his book, the artwork, Planet Drum. So I think it's very much of a drum record. Of course, Mickey Hart's a percussionist, so it would be. Okay, next, we're gonna go. So we got Traverse City by Warren Zevon is 1989. We've got 1988, which is Bob Dylan. Let me find the name of it. Where is it here? Bob, oh no, sorry, wrong one. Okay, sorry. Bob Dylan, Down to the Groove, 1988. We got Matt Kelly, A Wing and a Prayer, which a friend of mine wrote some songs for that record. And then Thomas Dolby, 1992. And then Bruce Hornsby, 1990, A Night on the Town. And Bruce Hornsby had joined the Grateful Dead at this point, or was involved with them. So he played on it. And I know that Jerry really revered him as a keyboard player, piano player. Now we're getting towards the end here. So we're going to go to, now he's got 1980. It's called, it's Peter Rowan. And then we've got 1993, Not for Kids. And then we've got 1998, Jerry Garcia Acoustic Band. And we've got 1992, I believe it's called Prison Blues. And then we've got the Jerry Garcia Grisman self-titled 1991 record. So these are all, well, not except for Rowan, these are all kind of acoustic stuff where he's playing acoustic guitar or mandolin or banjo or whatever he plays on these records, but it's more of acoustic, kind of country-ish, like Old in the Way, extension of Old in the Way. Now we've got, so this is getting towards the end of his life here, in 1989, the Rainforest record with Merle Saunders. And then we've got Bruce Hornsby, Hot House, and then Blue Incantatious, 1995. So that's more of a jazz album. And so basically, I missed the Rowan brothers, and I did mention Lamb. So I think I pretty much got everybody on here. I'm going to go, but Matt Kelly, that album, he was a harp player. If you saw the Grateful Dead, he would sit in with them in the Bay Area. And he's a friend of Bob Weir's, played in Kingfish. So that's that thing there. Okay. So now, here we go. We got Jim Marshall in the middle here. He's a photographer of those first photos. But throughout my series of San Francisco musicians and other musicians like the Allman Brothers, he shot a lot of album covers and a lot of great photos. And some of the most famous pictures of Jimi Hendrix, Jim Marshall shot. He's no longer with us. And we got Tom Donahue. He was the original underground radio DJ of San Francisco, and he founded this radio station. First he had KPFA and then KSAN, which was Jive 95, and this is a poster. And these guys are like, well, they're both no longer with us, including Jerry, and these guys are kind of like legends. We've got Marshall, who's created these beautiful visions of the history by photography. We've got the guy who played the music and put it on the radio, and FM radio was such an instrumental part of the music world and music scene of the early 70s. He helped launch all these bands and underground radio. And now I'm going to put a list of all this stuff, and I'm going to leave it up here for a while. And there's the Jerry Garcia sitting in on album, Jefferson Airplane, obviously, Rinsky Point, Beautiful Day, Paul Kantner, Grace Slick, Papa John, Stephen Stills, Art Garfunkel, Grace Slick, Paul Kantner again, New Riders, Bob Weir, Jerry Garcia, Lamb, Link Ray, Robert Hunter, Jerry Garcia, Old and Away, Mickey Hart, Rolling Thunder, Diga Rhythm Section, Crosby, Stills, Nash and Young, Graham Nash, Songs for the Beginner, David Crosby, if I can only remember my name, the Rowan Brothers, David Bromberg, Tom Fogerty, Bill Cutler, Hell's Angels movie soundtrack, Jerry Garcia, Legion of Mary, Ned Legan. Oh, I missed Ned Legan. He's in there also. That's an experimental 1975 record of kind of electronic music. Okay, Keith and Donna Groucho, Jerry Garcia again, Peter Rowan, Texas Badman, Jerry Garcia, Run for the Roses, the Neville Brothers, Uptown, Matt Kelly, A Wing and a Prayer, Pete Sears, Bob Dylan, Down in the Groove, Jerry Garcia again, Onette Coleman, Warren Zevon, Bruce Hornsby, Country Joe, Thomas Dolby, Jerry Garcia again, 3 times, Blues Incontentious, and Bruce Hornsby. So that's pretty much it. I think I don't have the Rainforest record, Mule Saunders on this list, but I think everything else is pretty complete. And once again, we're going to go back to me. And actually, I'm going to go back to this one. So go back to the lead shot again. So 58 albums in total, Jerry Garcia sat in on, that aren't Grateful Dead. There they are. So if you guys can come up with some other ones, please let me know. And I'm going to go back to stop screen share. So I hope you guys enjoyed it. I had a lot of hits and views on the last one and a lot of comments. And so if you guys subscribe to my channel, if you're into this sort of thing, and I'm looking for a lot of views, and I hope this one, everybody digs this one. It was a lot of research and a lot of work on the layout. So signing off, thank you very much, and we'll see you next time. I have no idea what my next show is going to be.